Jody Frank asks, what signals of product market fit did you look to validate the model?
A lot of people think product market fit is a well-defined point in time. Yesterday, I did not have product market fit, and today, magically, I have product market fit. Yeah. It doesn't not a checkpoint at all. It's a phase. It's easy for me to say you would feel it, but it's not you would feel it within a day. It's over a period of time. You may second guess, do I really have product market fit or not? But there are a few signs that you can look at. In our case, the writers are coming back over and over again and write. The readers are coming back again and again to consume the content. Say the MAU, monthly active users, that is trending up, especially without artificially spending more on paid marketing, if you do that, I'm not saying you should not have paid marketing, but this can artificially inflate your number, and you pat on your shoulder, oh, we are growing 200%. Well, because you spend more on pay, it doesn't count. You have to look at all those signals and make a judgment call. Okay, looks like it's really trending up. Looks like, especially the most important thing that I mentioned is your customer or your user, are they coming back or are they giving up on you and move on to something else? I think if they're coming back without you trying very hard, that means you must be onto something.
Cool, and I like that idea that product market fit is not a destination, but it's kind of a moving target. Mukund, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, asks, hi, Alan. How difficult was it to choose to keep the platform free? As authors who expect to get financially rewarded, earning is not available on Wattpad, and that would leave a chunk of top talent from the platform. Did that bother you? And how did your team wrap their head around that problem?
We purposely stay away from monetization early on. And in retrospect, we didn't realize, to be frank, we didn't realize how powerful it was. We only, hindsight is 2020, we learned that afterwards. At that point in time, giving away content in the context of fictional content was a very nascent concept. Everyone wants to sell, and the only way to sell is to find a publisher to print them on physical paper and stuff it on a bookshelf and Barnes & Noble. Free completely changes the economic graph. It eliminates the friction. When friction is zero, anything divided by zero is infinite, right? That's why YouTube took off. It's because there's no friction. You just consume. You don't have to pay anything. We only realized how powerful it was a few years later when we saw our numbers just keep growing. And more importantly, as authors who expect to get financially rewarded, that's not a valid assumption. That's a valid assumption when you look at the current market. But when you are creating a category creator, that's creating a category that did not exist before, all the numbers, all the assumptions, they are all wrong. And remember, exceptional companies, they break all the rules. Airbnb, Uber, I can name many. They don't follow the traditional rules. And one thing we are very lucky is both founders, we know nothing about publishing, and we were naive enough to do things that people from publishing were not there to do in a million years. And in a way, that's helped us because of that. So to answer that question directly, yes, established authors, they want to make money, but anyone can write. And there are billions of people can write. No one is capturing that market. What we provide at that time and still, of course, nowadays we provide financial rewards to the authors as well. But at that time, what we discovered was many people may say they want to be financially rewarded, but the most important thing to them is the fan base, is the people who read the stories. If you have 100 fans, and no financial reward, guarantee the aspiring writers would choose fan base over money.
Interesting. Great answer there too, and great question. Just a tactical question from Carrie and Jody about how you manage translation when you talked about that growth hack of going to market And it's the internet, so global, right? That's a big takeaway.
We were faking it, so we didn't even translate the product. But when we realized we were getting traction in some other languages, and remember, we were bootstrapping at that time, paying a few $1,000s or $10,000 to ask someone to translate a website or mobile app, mission impossible. So we asked our users to do it for us. In a way, a good friend of mine reminded me this: Alan, you are very good at asking people to work for you for free. kind of in a joking way, but this is kind of true. Joking aside, I believe if you create a product that your users are very passionate about, you can ask them to do a lot of things, because just why people work for nonprofits, it's not for money. Money is not the answer for most of the questions. Most people, the motivation is happiness, the passion. I don't want to use the word exploit that. If we can unlock that value and make our users even more passionate, even happier, then it's a good value exchange.
Sean asks, back to mentors, what's the best way to find the right startup mentor? What did you take away as the most important qualities in the mentors that worked well, mentors that sort of didn't pan out?
Hard to find generic answers. Sometimes serendipity. Sometimes you just bump into people that you like, and before you know, there are 10 things you can learn from those people. One thing I learned is, despite running a startup, is the fact that running a startup is very draining, demanding. Spend a little bit of time in networking. Kevin, you talk about having a peer network, especially in the same stage. I agree with that 110%. I have a similar network at YPO and other peer-to-peer networks. Especially in my case, I have two peer-to-peer networks. One in YPO, the other is a local nonprofit organization called Founder City. In using the same YPO format, it's the same 6 to 8 founders. We meet monthly and share experience. They are all at the same stage. That will allow us to, Kevin, you talk about this. I don't want to spend much time on this point. Share similar and relevant experience. However, I would also add, having one or two may not be dedicated mentors, but just some people having coffee, once or twice, but that person or those people, they are one stage ahead of you. It's also a very good idea. Again, so much you can learn from your peers, but always you can always learn something from the master.
Angelina Desai asks, can you talk about your forums and the decision to end them? I know they were very active, and then there were some issues and discontinued. Given how social the site is, can you speak about the community aspect and letting it go? So sort of making tough product decisions.
I presume you're talking about the peer-to-peer network forum. Similar to what Kevin said, don't give advice, don't give suggestion, focus on sharing experience. You can always learn something from other people's experience, and we are very strict about this as well, because we don't want to take away the accountability. You should be the one accountable for your own decisions. Sorry, what was the second question again? I think there were two.
Yeah, I think so. This was more about, did you have a forum aspect to your product?
No, we had one, but we took that away because we want people to focus on the atomic units, which is the story. We don't want people to, we don't want Wattpad to become Reddit. And that some of the conversations when we had the forum became very controversial, and people get into like talking about religious stories, and it's that debate would never end. Like politics, you don't want people to have a toxic conversation, but if it's surrounding a story, it's great.
So you made the decision it wasn't additive to the like that, the atomic unit. Alex Shaw says, you broke all my rules. Don't work with someone who's too much like yourself. But it sounds like your co-founder had similar skill sets. How did you not have conflicts? And 2, don't hire your wife. I'm impressed. Were roles very well defined, so you didn't step on each other's toes?
Yeah, I think I answered this quite well defined, and a success of a company comes from many factors. Sometimes maybe this one might not be the right decision. It could be even more optimized if the founders' capabilities are more different. But it kind of work out for us.
Julian Harris, our peer mentor of the week. Could you help me understand the network effects Wattpad used to gain a defensible market position?
The writers, they have all the fans. When they have 1 million followers, it's impossible for the writers to move on to another network. And for the readers, when all the favorite writers and stories are on the platform and we feed them the right stories over and over again, there's no incentive for them to move. And as the network grows, that effect will just grow exponentially.
Rama asks, you mentioned your own growth with the growth of the company, becoming a CEO and a leader. Any tips on how to do this? Example, how do you communicate differently when the company scales?
2 questions. The first one, your own personal growth. Google a video called My Name, Alan Lau, The Evolution of an Entrepreneur. I talk about how you need to have this self-awareness of self-learning and self-growth and change. Consider yourself getting a new job every year or every 2 years. So watch that. That's the answer. The second one, at this stage, I have 200 employees. Broadcast. I have to broadcast. I write a blog post to the company every single day. So to give everyone the context of the company. And at the same time, I still maintain one-on-one with everyone in the company, but now it's once per year. If you do the math, it's only 4 employees per week, half an hour each. It's only 2 hours. Ask any CEO, 5% of the time you know everyone in the company and heard of all the problems in the company. Absolutely time well spent. So attack on both ends.
Final question, Matthias asks, he's our Seattle chapter director. Speaking of having global exposure and awareness as founders, what are the biggest differences you see in the startup ecosystems across the globe?
I think US companies are much more US focused because the domestic market is very large. Canadian, a lot of them focus on Canadian and US market because Canada is too small by population. Naturally, they want to get into 5 different markets because they just have to. So internationalization is like the back of their hand, but they don't like to go out of Europe as much. Asian companies typically focus on Asia. Asia is too large a market. They don't even need to go out of their market.